Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons to stay connected. Your support means a lot and helps this channel grow. So sit back, relax, and let's get started with today's video. The 1 shilling coin of 1950 is a significant piece of British numismatic history, representing both the continuation of traditional coinage and the evolution of the United Kingdom's monetary system in the mid-20th century. The shilling, valued at 1/20th of a pound sterling 12 pence in pre-decimal currency, was an important everyday denomination in Britain, widely used in daily trade, markets, and general circulation. The 1950 issue of the 1 shilling coin was minted under the reign of King George VI, the father of Queen Elizabeth II, and reflects the post-war period of Britain, when the country was recovering from the challenges of World War II. During this time, coins were not only functional money but also symbols of national identity, heritage, and pride. The design of the 1951 shilling coin is quite distinctive because it exists in two versions, the English shilling and the Scottish shilling. This dual-issue system had been introduced earlier to reflect the equal representation of the United Kingdom's two great historic kingdoms, England and Scotland. On the English reverse design, created by George Kruger Gray, the coin features a crowned lion standing proudly on a royal crown, surrounded by the inscription Fid Def 1 shilling, along with the year, 1950. The Scottish reverse, also designed by Gray, shows a crowned Scottish lion within a double treasure flory counter flory, also with the legend Fid Def 1 shilling and the year. These designs were highly symbolic, paying homage to the unity yet distinct traditions of the constituent nations of the UK. On the obverse side, the coin bears the portrait of King George VI, facing left, as designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget. The surrounding inscription reads George's VDG. Br.OMN. Rex Fide Def, which translates as, George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith. This inscription reflected the king's role as both monarch of the United Kingdom and head of the Church of England. The portrait is regal but not overly elaborate, emphasizing the dignity and seriousness of George VI's reign, especially important given the context of the time when the monarchy was seen as a symbol of stability during and after the war. The metal composition of the 1950 shilling was cupronickel, as the use of silver in British coinage had ceased after 1946 due to economic constraints and the rising value of silver. Prior to that, shillings were struck in 50% silver 1920-1946 or 92.5% sterling silver before 1920. The transition to cupronickel marked a significant change in the history of British coins, as it introduced a harder-wearing alloy that was more practical for mass circulation. The coin had a standard weight of 5.65 grams, a diameter of 23.5 millimeters, and a milled-reeded edge. These dimensions were consistent with the long-standing tradition of the shilling, allowing continuity and recognition among the public despite the change in metal. In terms of historical context, the 1950 shilling represents a period when Britain was still operating under the pre-decimal system, which remained in place until the decimalization of 1971. 1 shilling was equal to 12 old pence, and 20 shillings made up 1 pound sterling. People often carried shillings in their pockets for everyday purchases, making this coin a very familiar part of British life. The coin also reflects the monarchy's careful attention to balancing national traditions, as the English and Scottish issues were equally struck and circulated across the UK. Collectors today value the coin not only for its design but also as a historical artifact from the last decades of the shilling's existence. For collectors, the 1951 shilling is moderately collectible, though not considered extremely rare. Large numbers were minted, but their value today depends on condition, rarity of the type, English or Scottish, and historical interest. Coins in circulated condition are usually inexpensive, but uncirculated or proof-like examples can attract higher interest. Because of the dual design system, many collectors aim to acquire both the English and Scottish versions as part of a complete collection. Additionally, the coin's association with King George VI makes it particularly appealing to those interested in coins from the pre-Elizabethan era. In summary, the 1 shilling coin of 1950 is a fascinating piece that embodies British tradition, symbolism, and historical transition. Its obverse with George VI, and its dual reverse designs celebrating both English and Scottish heritage, give it a unique character among British coins. The move from silver to cupronickel demonstrates the economic realities of post-war Britain, while the coin's daily use in commerce illustrates its importance in everyday life. Although simple in appearance, the 1950 shilling carries with it a rich story of monarchy, identity, and the evolution of currency. Today, it remains a cherished collectible that connects us to a bygone era of British money, before the sweeping changes of decimalization reshaped the nation's coinage forever. The 1 shilling coin of 1949 is a fascinating piece of British pre-decimal currency that holds both historical and numismatic value. This coin was part of the British monetary system before decimalization took place in 1971. At that time, the shilling was equal to 12 pence and was widely used in daily trade across the United Kingdom. The 1949 issue of the 1 shilling is particularly interesting because it reflects the transitional period of post-war Britain, when the nation was recovering from World War II and adjusting to the new reign of King George VI. The coin was struck in cupronickel alloy, since the earlier silver content of shillings had been reduced after 1946 due to the rising cost of silver. This change makes the 1949 shilling among the first generations of non-silver shillings in British history, marking an important economic adjustment in coinage. On the obverse side of the coin, the portrait of King George VI is prominently displayed. Designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, the bust of the king faces left, a tradition followed by alternating monarch profiles on British coins. The inscription around the portrait reads, Georgievs VD, G, BR, OMN, Rex Fide Def, which translates to, George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith. This inscription emphasizes both the monarchy's divine right and its role as a protector of the Church of England. The detailed engraving highlights the king's steady image during a period when the British Empire was still influential globally but beginning to face decolonization. The reverse side of the 1949 1 shilling coin is especially notable for its two different designs, representing England and Scotland, a practice introduced in 1937. The English reverse features a crowned lion standing on top of the royal crown, a symbol of England's power and authority, with the inscription, Fid Def 1 shilling, and the date 1949 split on either side of the design. The Scottish reverse instead shows a crowned lion seated upon the crown, with a slightly different inscription placement, reflecting Scotland's heraldic traditions. These two designs highlight the unity yet distinctiveness of the United Kingdom's nations, making the coin culturally significant. The 1949 1 shilling coin has a diameter of 23.5 mm, a weight of approximately 5.66 grams, and was struck in cupronickel, which gave it a silver-like appearance without the cost of precious metal. Millions of these coins were minted for circulation, so they are not extremely rare. However, their value to collectors today depends on condition, minting variations, and whether it carries the English or Scottish reverse design. Coins in uncirculated or proof-like condition are much more desirable among numismatists. Historically, the 1949 shilling tells the story of a country rebuilding after the devastation of World War II, with Britain striving to maintain its traditions while adapting to economic constraints. This was also a time of gradual decline in colonial power, with India having already gained independence in 1947. The coin therefore stands as a small but significant artifact of Britain's mid-20th century identity, symbolizing monarchy, unity, and resilience. Collectors today value the 1949 1 shilling not just as a piece of currency but also as a cultural and historical reminder of King George VI's reign and the evolution of British coinage.